Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 2016 Underground Railroad Awards dinner. Mr. Dwayne Cox, Chairman of the Patterson Parking Authority, would like to say a few words also.
Good evening. Welcome on behalf of the Patterson Parking Authority, our Executive Director Tony Perez, and all the commissioners that have come. We're thankful that you guys have spent some of your time and hard-earned effort with us, and we appreciate everyone coming.
Mr. Kenneth Clayton, the commissioner, one of the commissioners of the Patterson Parking Authority, Reverend Clayton.
May we bow our heads. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou hast brought us safe thus far on the way. We are thankful to you for our gathering tonight. Allows for us to remember those who came together to create unity and freedom for people in our city and ultimately the world. Bless our gathering, a time of remembrance and all that we do, that you might be honored in our city and world might be made better. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Clayton. We have a few dignitaries here with, hold on just a minute, we have a photo, okay. We have Gary Shear, the Assemblyman of the 36th District. Mr. Shear, would you stand, please? He is also a president of the City Council of Passaic. Okay. Dinner will be served in about 3 minutes, right, John? But before we get to dinner, would you all stand for our famous national anthem? Okay, would you follow the screen as that song starts any minute? Powerful song, powerful song. We are going to deviate from the program today because we have Mayor Joey Torres, okay, everybody please sit, okay, thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's indeed a great pleasure to be here to this second annual celebration, celebrating wonderful accomplishments. But you know, when you see the videotape there, it only brings chills to our body. But one thing that truly, the message I truly believe that I got, it to Assemblyman Chair, to Reverend Clergy, to members, to the honorees, thank you for coming here today. But one of the things that truly resound in that video clip, to me anyway, right, was that ultimately our true nationality is mankind. Right? Our true nationality is mankind. And it was so moving to me there that just about every single verse gave praise to the Lord, right? Every single element there gave praise to the Lord, right? And we have so much to be grateful. So much to be grateful for those two Pattersonians getting together at that Spice Company on Broadway that truly since then has revealed the sacred ground. Each of the honorees here today have been chosen for your talents and your treasures, whether it be Sponzelli for the wonderful art demonstration and the landscaping that he provided to those grounds, to Dr. Rose for recognizing and contributing that we had to preserve that land, but more importantly, that Passaic County Community College is the largest depository of African American history in the underground movement, I would say, in all of northern New Jersey, if not in the country. And for that is a truly commitment of this partnership that we created so many years ago. And it took us a long time to get there. We all remember how that little tract of land was supposed to be a Taco Bell. And we fought so hard, and I thank my council members for allowing me to give me the privilege to lead the fight of saying, no, we got to take that little triangle of land, we got to preserve it. And then when we were going to build the motor vehicle building in the addition to Passaic County Community College, it allowed us the opportunity to leverage that opportunity, to leverage to what I always call, Chairman, what I always call is that investment in human capital. And the investment in human capital was the investment not only in human capital, but the investment in history, as it is portrayed in that site. So today we're here to pay tribute to all those who gave their talents and their treasures to make that a reality. And so as the night goes on, my schedule, you know how the mayor's schedule is. But one of the honorees that I was to, Ms. Rensalier bestowed the privilege on me was to honor the designer, the architect that designed that memorial. And you know, it's kind of remarkable. Patterson is known for its many firsts, right? We did the first continuing roll of paper. We did the first aeronautic right engine that actually powered the Spirit of St. Louis. We had the first submarine. We had the first Colt revolver. And the list goes on and on of Patterson's the first. So one of the things that really is important to continue to remember that not too many people or not too many municipalities or cities in an urban setting could brag that they had the distinct pleasure of not having one, but not two, but three of the most distinguished men who really laid the foundation of this nation. From LaFont to being the planner of Patterson in part, and the planner of our great nation, to George Washington that ended up becoming the president, and at that time he wasn't even the president yet. And to Alexander Hamilton, who sought that vision to harness the power of the falls that was going to move us from an agrarian society into an industrial society. And when people talk about that, even that, the significance of that, where today even we hear our leaders or all those who want to be leaders bashing and is indicating that we got to create bigger walls and separating humanity. Right here in Patterson, many may know it, many may not, and I boast it, but Alexander Hamilton was an immigrant from St. Croix, bastard child. So how wonderful is this city? And to be able to be here today and recognize something that was so significant in the movement, right? That was created, that underground movement, and providing the freedom that we so take for a luxury, a freedom that back then, that today our military, continue to protect us because we know that freedom isn't free. So I welcome you today to the architect who I believe cannot be here today because he landed, praise the Lord, landed a wonderful big contract, which you could understand that when you land that big contract, right, of design. But this wonderful architect has demonstrations of his art and his talents through livable arts. You could feel it, you could understand it. So this is livable history that you could see by just looking at one of these monuments that he has. And so we're so very blessed that he was selected by the selection committee to go ahead and actually design that wonderful space. So to each and every one of you, welcome. Welcome to what we consider the crown jewel of Patterson, New Jersey, right? The Brownstone House. I'm here like every other day. I want to welcome to the executive director of the Parking Authority who just joined us, and I think our chairman is going to actually be the master of ceremony today, right? Yes, no? You may not know it, but you are. Okay. And so I have to prepare some remarks. All the honorees will have receive a certificate and citation recognizing your talents and your treasures and your contributions to making the Underground Railroad here right in Patterson such a significant contribution and representation of the great and many contributions, not only that the African American community has done, but the preservation of recognizing what humanity and dignity and compassion was led so many years ago right here in that great city of Patterson, New Jersey. So with that, so to the national sculptor and architect, a legacy in himself, Ed White, for his design of the Underground Railroad. He receives the Lantern Award, the 2016 Lantern Award, leaving a mighty legacy under the Huntoon and Rensalier second annual Underground Railroad Award ceremony.
I just want to say a few words for Ed White, who could not be here. He was also one of the sculptors that did one of the initial designs for the Martin Luther King statue on the mall. And this is special because what he did for this foundation is indeed unique. It would have probably cost a couple $1 million to do the project. The model clay bust that he used, but he actually went through the trouble of having clothes designed from the era in which they lived and he dressed the statues in those clothing, and then did the clay overlay over the clothing, which led to the bronze casting that you see there. So he put a great deal of love and time and energy into this, and so we're very happy to recognize him. And he was trying very hard to be here, but he's working on a major project in Texas, and he just couldn't make the coordination. So we're going to see that he gets this, and we're just really proud, and thank you for joining us and honoring him.
I just want to tell you all a little quick story about Ed White. I researched all over online to find an appropriate person, because to me it was very important. And I noticed that he did Alex Haley's sculpture. So I got the nerve to call him up cold. He didn't know me from Adam. I told him quickly my little story of my little journey and how our board was desperately trying to find the best Black national sculptor. And the key was that that person would take this important project for $206,000. So I waited. It was silent. And he said, you know, I'm so impressed with your story. I'll do it for $206,000. Later, when I went to prepare for him coming to the mayor's office, I noticed that he doesn't take anything less than $1 million to start with. So we have to really give him a great big hand. Mr. Best, would you please come up?
Good evening, everyone. I know everyone is eating, and I'm going to try my best to stay to the end of the program. But there's another event, and I want to thank the committee for recognizing that for my two colleagues, Freeholder Pat McCord and Terry Duffy, who need to get to the sheriff's event tonight in another town. But we're so fortunate that the committee and the foundation thought enough to recognize the county of Passaic for such a great and historic symbol to freedom, a symbol to justice, and a symbol to hope here in the city of Patterson. I originally was brought to the attention of this particular monument when Assemblywoman Elise Evans was back when she was a freeholder. When there was Freeholder Elise Evans and Freeholder Duffy and Freeholder Pat McCord was there as well. She served on the Patterson Parking Authority. And this was one of her main passions, to make sure that we had a lasting and a statement and a monument that really embodied how important and special the Underground Railroad was and the family was for the city of Patterson and the connection between the county of Passaic as well. So when she left to become an assemblywoman, and I was appointed as a freeholder, elected as a freeholder, then appointed on the Open Space Advisory Board, she came to us and asked us if we wouldn't mind finding a way to fund this project. So we had a meeting with Mr. Perez over at the Parking Authority and asked him, how much are you short? The question wasn't, I can only do this, or we can only do that. The question was, how much do you need in order to get this project finally done for the family, for the community, for the city, for the state, and for the nation? Because it was that important to this board of chosen freeholders, and it was that important to our culture as a people. So to play a small role in such a momentous and great occasion, and a lasting monument to freedom here in the city of Patterson is beneficial for us all. And we want to say thank you on behalf of the entire County of Passaic and the Board of Chosen Freeholders. Thank you.
Mr. Archimetti came all the way here just to have a few words about the Passaic County Board of Chosen Freeholders. And Mr. Archimetti is the Executive Director of the Patterson Historic Preservation Commission.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Dolores for that introduction. And it's so good to be with all of you this evening. It reminds me of being here last year when the Preservation Commission was honored with a similar award. And it is really a privilege that I was asked to come and say a few words about the role of the Board of Freeholders in the preservation legacy of our great city. For the years I've been here with the city of Patterson, the support of so many organizations has been fundamental to the preservation of the various resources, the abundance of resources that we have in the city. But specifically, partnership with the State County Freeholders has meant access to much needed funding. As Freeholder Director just mentioned, the ability to be able to fund an open space project or a preservation project has been essential to it moving forward at the right time with the community, and or not at all. So we are greatly honored to have the chosen freeholders as partners in so many of the different endeavors that we undertake. The Preservation Commission and the City of Patterson is very grateful for their contributions, not only to the Underground Railroad monument and plaza that was made possible by their funding efforts, but also to many more. For example, the West Broadway Bridge, some of you cross it every day. That is a county freeholder project as well. That is a historic bridge that was fully restored. We've been very honored to be able to hand out awards to the Board of Freeholders almost on an annual basis at our event, where we're honoring the various exemplary public projects that come through our city on an annual basis. I also would like to take a moment to recognize Kathleen Karen, who's also here at the dinner tonight, who is the administrator of the Open Space Program. Kathleen also wanted to give a shout out to you. Have a great dinner, everyone, and thanks for coming.
Thank you. Very much. We have a special person here, Donna Ivy, the Director of the Patterson Department of Human Services, who was fortunate enough to go to the opening of the African American Museum in Washington, D.C. So, Donna Ivy, would you please come up? Thank you. She has some great words for each of you.
I am truly blessed because yesterday I just came back from DC, and I have a friend, a dear friend that lives there, so I don't have to pay for hotels and all that other stuff. I don't even have to order my tickets, it's all handled. So I went down Saturday morning, I was going Friday, but my brother-in-law passed away, and his services was Friday night, so I had to go early Saturday morning. And it was amazing. It is amazing. I encourage you all to get there. And when you get there, make sure you have 2 days to go through the museum. We didn't go in the actual grand opening. But you heard it on the radio, you heard it on the television, you heard President Obama, and I think Stevie Wonder even sang a brand new song. But I was en route to DC and I got to hear all of that. So on Saturday, when I did get there, we went to the mall. So it was just energized, and there was music, and there was all kind of memorabilia, and all kinds of folks out there. It was just amazing. Then at 8 o'clock, we had our tickets to go in the first night, and so did 100,000 other people. So it was like, really, they send you in to go to the bottom deck, which is the slave ship, and all of the information and the artifacts and all of the, the chains, the cotton, and all of the stuff. And it's just so much. I told Director Irma Gorham that, she said, "Oh, you're gonna say a few words." And I'm like, "Why did you tell me? I'm not in a working mode. I'm off all week, right?" But I also did take some photos, so I could have at least brought them and spoke a little bit more intelligently about it. But when you go, they direct you down so that you're going in chronological order of how things happen. So you're going down and you're going up, and you get to the segregation and the KKKs and all that other stuff. And there's narration going on while you're walking through. There's photos everywhere. There's no space that's empty. And it is just incredible. I mean, from the lunch counters, to the Ku Klux Klan, to President Obama talking about Zimmerman, narration. It is just awesome. We went, like I said, Saturday evening, and we were there from 8 to maybe 11 o'clock. Didn't get past the second level underground. You just can't do it. The next day, we were able to be there for 11:45. We had 11:45 tickets, and we saw a lot more, and the crowd wasn't as thick. But we still didn't finish. Upstairs on the top, the third floor up, is the artists from all genres and all years, and whether it be musical folks or sports folks. I didn't get to see any of that, so that's where I'm starting next time I go. Because I'm starting from the top and then I'm going down. They're going to direct you to go down and follow the chronological order, which is a beautiful thing. The monuments, the statues, the narrations, and again, everybody was there. I mean, all different nationalities, everybody was just soaking it all in. And I encourage you. Now, I think we can't get tickets until January. That's how booked it is. But you need to do that. You need to go online, and you need to pick a date and when you want to go, or 2 days or whatever, when you want to go, and put yourself on, get a ticket, because you need that ticket to be scanned in, and they also assign a time. I'm going back probably in the spring. I wish I had I really do wish I had my laptop. I'm sorry you're sorry. But am I getting you at least excited? Yeah. Okay, then I did what I needed to do. You gotta go. You gotta go. All right, thank you.
Yvette Smallwood, would you come up, please?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Now that's better. Giving honor and praise to God, the creator of all things big and small, the creator of all things by many names. Giving honor and praise to our righteous ancestors, those who came before us, those whose footsteps we followed, upon whose shoulders we stand. It is customary that before we speak, especially in gatherings, that we honor our elders, our ancestors, and those who came before us and struggled, that we acknowledge the elders in the room. And we acknowledge the elders in the room because it's through their wisdom and understanding that we learn what we learn. So therefore, if we come before you and we make a mistake, they can correct us and they can acknowledge us what we need to do. So at this time, if it's okay with the Patterson family, I'd like permission from my dad for me to speak and for me and my sister to continue to honor our brother, my mother, and the Buds and Emoji program. We don't just have one brick, we have three. That is at the Underground Railroad site. So if my dad will give me permission, I'll continue my 2 minutes, because I know we have 3. Yes. I thank you. It is in the honor and the spirit of the Underground Railroad that we say thank you to all those who struggled on our behalf, those who made it possible for the Underground Railroad to exist, those who made it possible for us to be here. And there's some people in this room who are going to be acknowledged tonight. Brother Bilal Hakeem is one of them who was there in the beginning. Okay, Kermit Evie was there in the beginning. Some of you may not know the name, some of you do. Kamau Kalfani, we acknowledge and honor him. Dashia Marie Smallwood, who was my mother. We stood on that site before they even thought about building anything there. And we made it very clear that this is sacred ground. And all those whose names are not called but nevertheless put in the work, we honor them, we acknowledge them. And last but not least, on my business card, the young men of Buds who've been involved in the Underground Railroad through people like Director Ivy and Jimmy Richardson and Bilal Hakeem. We had in our curriculum a component where we talk and teach the Underground Railroad, the history, the importance, and we walk them from Garrett Mountain, Brother Richardson, all the way down to the Underground Railroad. So therefore, it's important that we not only celebrate tonight, but we make sure our young people understand the history. And as you said, long beyond when we're all gone, that it's our young people who will keep the legacy of this work and this struggle alive. So the last brick that my family decided to do, and I thank my sister Yvette for bringing my consciousness back to acknowledge my youngest brother, Divine Smallwood, whose son is one of the first people you see in the front of the business card for doing this brick. Because as much as we honor him in spirit, and we honor him through his children and the work that we do, we also want them, our children, our grandchildren, and their children to be able to go down to the Underground Railroad and see a great man in spirit and in work. So I thank all those that made this possible. May we continue to struggle and teach the history of the Underground Railroad, but also the struggle and mastery of why we need to make sure that we continue to do what we do in the manner in which we do it. Thank you, God bless, and good night.
Sorry for standing in his way.
If I may have your attention for a few moments longer, we want to take advantage of the program and the hour. And I am John Warren. I'm Dolores Spanier's husband, and very proud to be here with her once again. Last year I had the honor of being your keynote speaker. And I wanted to come before you this evening because of the work that Dolores has done. And she's a very modest person in her own way, and I'm her PR agent. So I want to make sure that what she's done is fully recognized and understood. She's one of the few people in this country that has contributed on both the East and the West Coast in terms of history. Many of you might not know this, but in Los Angeles, California, in Watts, at a very turbulent time in its history, Dolores was the director of a senior citizen center there. And one of the things that she did there in the midst of the blight of that community was create a rose garden. And the rose garden she created was recognized by the National Registry of Rose Gardens, which, as you know, you have a White House Rose Garden, you have Pasadena Roses, and so she was successful as probably the smallest one in the nation, but she was successful in getting that rose garden recognized. And to this day, it is still there, it's still flourishing. and is still bringing joy and excitement to the seniors in Los Angeles. And so in that spirit, I'm very excited about what she's done here. Let's give her a hand for that effort. And I want to direct your attention to the screen for a moment, because many of you know in terms of the history that Dolores came here in search of her family roots and identity. And you know, if you read the first edition of Real Street to Freedom, of what she experienced the first day that she went there and found herself on that hallowed and sacred ground. And so what happened was that she and Flavia co-authored a book on Real Street to Freedom, but Dolores had continued to do a great deal of detailed research because she is a real detailed person in terms of research. And we noticed that the first book sold out years ago, was in schools around the country. And then more recently, as the site developed, we began to see copies of this book on Amazon for as much as $700 and $800. And she was very disturbed that so much more had happened since then that she set to work immediately to do an updated edition. And so what you see here is the cover of this current book, Bridge Street to Freedom, with the emblem from the monument in terms of the slaves moving forward, and that's used with the express permission of Ed White. And we were supposed to have copies of the book ready for today, but the printers are still having some of their last minute things with the proofs. But we want you to know that what this book does, which is so important, is the book incorporates in greater detail the history of the site, going back to pictures of the house that stood there. It incorporates the ground in terms of what was first dedicated and how people met there for Juneteenth in terms of acknowledging that bit of history. But it also includes the work that was done to bring the present monument about. The efforts that I described earlier of working up the clay model and traveling to Denver to work with the sculpture on it, and the pictures of what happened 2 years ago when they made the effort to get the statue here, and the driver had to come through a snow blizzard, and there was snow still on the truck when he got here to take the monument off, but he was determined that he was going to get here on time with it. And so we have pictures of what took place on that great day 2 years ago when the statue was dedicated. We have pictures that show now. We're adding the additional pictures of the finished product with the flags and the circles. And there are more names to be added in terms of the bricks. And some who have purchased bricks, we wanted you to know that the bricks cannot be put down one at a time. They're being put down in segments. And so there's so many bricks now ready that she's ready for the next installation. So she's going to say a word about this, but I've watched her night after night, sometimes all night, just on that computer, day in, day out, 7 days a week, dealing with this book. And I kind of felt like what happened with Pope Leo when Michelangelo was doing the Sistine Chapel. The Pope would come in every day and look up at Michael up there, and he would say, "When are you going to be done?" And Michelangelo would look down and say, "When it's finished." And so she's finally finished the book, and we're excited, and I wanted her to have a few moments to say a few words about it since she's so bashful. Thank you.
Well, that was so good I could just sit down, you know. My husband is right. This book, published in 2016, November, December for sure, but I'm sure it'll be done by November. It'll be available then. Is really a piece of my life, a piece of my heart. So that's why it took me so long. You know, the first original essay was to inspire all of Patterson to fight hard to not let that site go to a Taco Bell. And I was beside myself when I found out that It was about to go to a Taco Bell. So in December of 1994, I wrote an original essay. And God really does work in mysterious ways, because that was it for me, because I was so happy that the city actually united and made demands, and with my documentation, it happened, okay? We celebrated it. So about 6 months later, Flavia calls me out of the clear blue sky and says, we have a national grant to write a book about the site, and I will be your mentor, don't worry about it. So I got the courage to actually write it, the essay. And it was a pretty good essay, I must say. Because it came from my heart, okay? This book, I have interwoven my personal autobiography that relates directly to the site, because I wanted America and everybody in America to understand how important transcending race is. So with that, I'm going to read just a couple, two paragraphs of the prologue, which of course sets the stage for the actual Bridge Street of Freedom essay. We live today in post-Civil War America, dangerously lulled by the many years of progress in civil rights. We need only ask ourselves how abolitionists like Josiah Huntoon and William Van Rensalier would have viewed how far we have come since they risked their lives at Bridge Street and Broadway to free our nation from slavery. The documented history of this past century answers for them. On February 20, 1994, the beginning of the, 1904, the beginning of the century, a Patterson, New Jersey newspaper reported Williams' obituary. The same newspaper reported the same day that a white lynch mob hunted down a young black man who had allegedly killed his white boss, dragged the black man from his father's house, hung him in his father's barn, then burned the barn down. 94 years later, at the end of the 20th century, on June 1998, newspapers across the nation reported that 3 Texas white men who had picked up black hitchhiker James Beard Jr. were convicted of beating him to death, then dragging him in chains behind their truck until his head and big pieces of his body were scattered along the road. Since the beginning of this century, America is already ignoring the nationwide protest phrase, Black Lives Matter. Unarmed black man after black man has been severely beaten or shot to death by those oppressive police officers across our nation again and again and again. Passed down from generation to generation, the American character remains a willing slave chained to both conscious and subconscious racism and prejudice. It will remain enslaved until Americans' humanity finally calls upon its deeper, highest self. There is a brave abolitionist deep within every man and woman's soul that can morally rise up and transcend race. Like I did as a teenager, limited by my parents' bondage, brave Americans must fight fight a moral civil war deep inside its soul and win. Only then can we free ourselves and our nation from these self-destructing chains. As world civilization moves through this millennium, the troubled heart of America still skips the beat of this truth. Her voice of denial and silent consent willingly sing about the flag of liberty waving over the land of the free and the home of the brave. One cannot imagine these Patterson white and black abolitionists, Huntoon and Rensalier, with their hands over their hearts before today's flag, singing our country's national anthem. Their integrity, their honor, America's honor, were too sacred to them. They knew the difference between singing a patriotic song and truly endangering their lives and their fortunes to uphold the fundamental values of the Declaration of Independence. Their station on the Underground Railroad, that bridge street to freedom, was a towering monument to this pledge. Thank you.
You're going to continue to generate this time.
Thank you for coming. Someone can get in the front. You two ladies in the end can get in the front. There you go. That was Ronald back there. You in the back? Shoulders? Get in a little bit. There we go. Okay, I got it. Right over here. Jump there.
That's better.
If we could have an attention again for a moment. We realize that the hours is getting late. We want to move ahead. If you don't mind doing two things at once while you're eating, we'd like to give out the other awards in recognition of how much time has lapsed. And we'll still continue with that. So Dolores is going to come up now and make these presentations while we move.
Okay. To start our 2016 Underground Railroad Awards. I'm excited about this. First, our power person. Okay, yeah, there it is. Yeah. Would you put the pictures up, please? Thank you. Eric, were you going to do this one? Okay. Our first awardee, I am proud to say, is Ada Poe. She is the chairperson of the African History Parade Committee.
honor to God. I am very proud receiving this from Ms. Dolores. But I can't take credit of doing the African Heritage Parade by myself. As I call your name, the people that helped me in this parade, all the effort, please stand up. Ms. Arma Bowman, Donald Irene Nelson, Linda Gallishaw, Mr. Smallwood, Diana Pugh, Allah. These are the people that have my backbone. They make sure I do what I needs to be done. So, you know, we will continue with the parade, which is next year. Put it on your calendar, June 17th, 2017. I just want to say this legacy of receiving this award, you know, when I read up on the person, Mr. Beddoes and Ms. Huntoon, and I found out one was black and one was white. So, you know, being said, I'm going to be very short. That shows you that we can restore our community back, and no matter what color we are, because we all are human and we all are one. And I just want to say thank you. God bless you.
I also, Ada, have an award for you from the Board of Chosen Freeholders, State of New Jersey. Okay? To our great Ada Pope, may you keep. Okay. The important thing is, may you keep that legacy alive so that all of us can be inspired. Our second awardee is Bilal Hakeem. Bilal, come on. You know, the very first time Bilal and I spoke, I was in California and he was here in New Jersey. And I had just found out that the city council was about to pass a resolution selling the site. So of course I was panicked, but I got Bilal's telephone number and we spoke. He calmed me down. He kept telling me exactly what was happening. I kept encouraging him and he kept me encouraged. So together, one of the things that I just begged him about was to unite, take the three, I didn't even know there was three, I thought there were two, 3 other programs and unite, bury your differences. And he took that to heart. And boy, when they united, they were a very powerful Underground Railroad coalition that started out and kept going day after day, month after month, until the Patterson community united. And we had finally gotten that vacant lot prescribed and preserved as a Huntoon and Rensalier Underground Railroad site.
With the name of God, most gracious and most merciful, the God of love and mercy, justice and truth. I thank you. Before I say my short remarks, I'd definitely like to invite 2 people, and that is Deacon Mikael from the Ethiopian church, known as Brother Eddie. Raheem Smallwood. And I would like Jimmy Richardson and Dave Gilmore. Come on. I asked them all to come up, as Ada mentioned, you do nothing on your own. It's always collective work. And although honor is given when work is done, and our work is yet to be finished. We all have a destiny that we have to fulfill in this life, and we haven't completed that work yet. A book is still being written. I wanted to accept the award on behalf of honoring my brother Mikael, because it was this brother who was the president of the Black Men's Forum at the time. It was an intelligentsia group of young Black men and women who came together on a regular basis and discussed the issues that was impacting our lives, and it came up in their form. I was part of the local peace movement at the time, Local Education Awareness Committee for Empowerment. We had the Kwanzaa Committee, which was the activist group at the time, not the new Kwanzaa group that exists now, but Kamal Kalfani, the late Kamal Kalfani. So, I accepted on behalf of my brother here. I accepted on behalf of Raheem Smallwood, who was a part of the coalition. I accepted on behalf of Dave Gilmore, an administrator, who my countless conversations with him has helped sharpen me. And of course, historian Jimmy Richardson. I happened to meet him one day. I was walking in the library, and I was looking for something, and he was in a conversation with somebody about a book called Patterson Environment. It's about the history of Patterson. I almost fell out the chair. So I ran over to him. I didn't even know who he was. And I started talking to him, and he pointed me to the book, and we developed a friendship. So I accepted on behalf of all of those people who laid that foundation, the Huntoon Rensalier legacy that we stand on. And I accepted on behalf of my mother. She turned 80 years old today. So I wanted to share that with you. I had a very long day earlier. In fact, we had planned to just have a big gathering for my mother today, but we had to do it earlier. So, I cooked dinner for my mother. She loves my cooking. I brought her favorite piece of cheesecake with a strawberry on it, and she enjoyed it. And I didn't eat much because I knew I would be coming here. So we accepted in that particular spirit. I wanted to say there is a need for a new abolitionist movement today to bring humanity back together. So although we relish in history and we buy bricks, and we should buy bricks, there's a need for a new abolitionist movement to bring humanity back together, to deal with the issues that are happening in law enforcement around the country. And I'll just close with this short piece that a politician actually put this up, and it caught my attention. So since we have many politicians here today, I thought it'd be appropriate just to quote this politician. And he's talking about the issue of policing. He said, "Wow, where do I start? NBC just released a cell phone video from Keith Scott's wife of the police shooting in North Carolina. As the story goes, Mr. Scott got out of the car with a gun, and the cop shot him. However, the video shows the wife approaching the car, pleading with the cops that her husband didn't do anything wrong. He does not have a gun, but he has a TBI and just took his meds. You can hear the cops yell 12 times, 'Drop the gun.' You hear the wife say, 'He doesn't have one. Please don't shoot.' The cops then try to get in the car. He comes out and is then shot dead. So those are the facts. Now what is missing? Transparency and a total lack of information. Where is the gun? The video looks as if it was planted by the cops. Not saying it was, but that's what it looks like. The car and body cam can clear that up. Release the video. The even bigger issue, what did the officers do to de-escalate the situation, especially after hearing from the wife? So I say we need a new abolitionist movement to demand community control of public safety legislation. We need to create legislation to effectuate these objectives, and until such things are brought into existence, we need to use local electoral politics to achieve those ends by registering people to vote, to place referendums on ballots, to rewrite police charters, to legally reflect community control and public safety. We must make community control of police the law throughout the land. And that's all I wanted to share and put on your minds today. I won't mention the politician, but he's dear. In fact, he was a student at the time when we were out here working. But I thank the coalition, the foundation, the Huntoon Rensalier Foundation. We accept this on behalf of all of the great humanitarians in history. Thank you.
We have an award from the Board of Chosen Freeholders, State of New Jersey, to Bilal Sahin. Our third award goes to Kathleen I don't want to make a mistake, so I call Kathleen Karen. Come on, Kathleen. You go. And Eric Lenander, our board co-founder, will be speaking all the good things about Kathleen.
Yeah. Yep, I'll be in touch. Should be there.
I don't know how many of you know Kathleen, but I want to keep her up here for a while so you really get to know her. The Huntoon and Rensalier Underground Railroad Foundation prides itself in working partnerships. Doing things by ourselves just doesn't work, and we've had partnerships over 20 years now to get where we've gotten. We like to think of ourselves, and you can too, that's okay, as a visionary. You come up with these great ideas and then you make them work. In the 1850s, Josiah Huntoon, William and Rensalier were visionaries. They said, we're going to run an underground railroad station. And they were self-taught. There was no manual out there on how to run an underground railroad station. In fact, there are hardly any records of what they did, but they were the visionary and they were the coordinator to make it all work. Life has gotten a little more complicated since then. And we've put people in different jobs, and it's all very important. The freeholders were up here before, and they talked about a grant we got to put the beautification of the site once the monument was dedicated. And this was the great news for the board, and then somebody said, well, what do we do now? And the answer is sitting right next to me. Kathleen Karen is going to talk about the go-to person. She can get it, you say, here it is, and it's done. You don't have to, it's going to be done right, it's going to be done well. It makes us look good. It really does. Thank you for making us look good. But these things just don't happen overnight. This is almost 2 years of putting these things together. You're filling out forms, everything which, they say you do it according to Hoyle, if you want to go by the rules, and we each keep each other honest. And I just want to say it's a great pleasure on behalf of the Huntoon and Rensalier Underground Railroad Foundation to present you with this award. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, and I want to thank the Board of Chosen Freeholders for their wisdom in creating notes. I have some notes here. I'm nervous. Actually, first, I would really like to invite my colleague and friend, Helen Willis, because without her support in our office, things would not get done. So Helen, I would love for you to come up here, please. Come on. I'm so happy she agreed to come. So I would really like to thank everyone who has bestowed this upon me. And I must admit that when I first received the letter, I was a little confused as to why I was being honored, because I just thought I'm just performing my duties, right, as the open space coordinator for the county of Passaic. And I felt that rather than me being honored, I really feel so incredibly honored to be a part of this. It's such an important issue, and the fact that this monument is now done, it really has been my honor being involved with this project. At this time in our history, when it seems like I don't know, it just seems like things are so crazy and reason has just been abandoned. Having a monument to these two incredible gentlemen is so incredibly important. I know I'm rambling. In the middle of the city for everyone to see, for people to learn about and contemplate about why this is so important, it adds to the rich history and the bright future of the city. As a child growing up in the 1960s, I was acutely aware of the civil rights movement. And honest to God, every night I used to pray that everyone would wake up the same color the next day, so there would be no discrimination. My color of choice was green, and as someone, as my ancestors who have their roots in Ireland were discriminated against, and of course pales in comparison to what African American brothers and sisters have been through to this day. I was aware that they were discriminated against, and my parents, I guess, learned and were sensitive to that and raised us up to look at everyone as a human being, and that to treat everyone with respect and kindness, no matter what their color and no matter what their social status. Also, as a child who grew up in the Catholic Church, I really got what Jesus was saying about loving one another and taking care of one another, and I try to live that way every day. So, wrap it up. At this time in our history, at that time in our history, over 150 years ago, Huntoon and Rensalier were actually doing something that was considered illegal, and they just didn't care, and they listened to their better angels. For that, I think we can all be inspired to continue, remember to bring that appreciation and to our everyday lives. It's really my pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you so much. And even though we know the struggle continues, we know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to get to the promised land. I know that.
after we got our $171,045, we already had Rich Sponzelli waiting in the wings for us to begin the landscaping. Rich has done a fabulous job, not just with us, but his history. His history, he has volunteered, just like Huntoon and Rensalier did all their lives. Let Rich Rensalier tell you that.
Thank you very much. It was really, I grew up in Patterson, went to high school in Patterson, went through the whole thing. My friends were mixed, every nationality you can imagine, it never fazed me. And I go through life the same way. It's who you are, not what you want that person to be. That's what you have to do with people. Respect them for who they are, not what you want them to be or what they should look like. And if you do that, I think everybody would get along a lot better. I had such a great time doing this job. The people that I worked with, the people that were in charge were unbelievable, including this young lady. Every time you turn around, somebody was thanking you. Somebody was hugging you. Somebody's coming up to you, oh my God, this is so beautiful. You're like, and I do work all over New York and New Jersey. And you name it, anybody you can imagine we've done. But never have I had the accolades on the job or just the good feeling of these people coming to me and saying, oh, this is beautiful. Like the smallest little thing, they're telling you how beautiful it is. And you're like going, oh my God, this is amazing. But that's what happened in the city of Patterson. Tony Perez was one of the limelight people that I had to deal with. An unbelievable man. Never is he unhappy. Never. He's amazing. I want to go home with him. Not really. But just an unbelievable person, and they allowed me to do the things that I thought were right on the job. Moving things, changing the pavers, making different designs, shifting to the center. All I had to say was, I don't like the way this looks. I'm going to move this to the middle. I'm going to do a big circle in the center. Or I'm going to add these shrubs in this corner. I'm going to do this in this corner. Everything was yes. Go ahead. Do it. Yes. Yes. So I'm so thankful for having such a great time, and my men the same way. We had such a good time. We look forward to going there. And we do homes and we do commercial jobs, and people are nice. But this was an exception to the rule. And I have to add my part of life to you that I wouldn't leave out, and that is the three most important things in our life, okay? And I'm very fortunate. I'm very lucky, had a great life. And I've been extremely lucky. But the three most important things in life are, number one, is God, Jesus Christ. It's the most important thing. And we take for granted so many times when our child is doing something wrong, or my wife is punching me in the back of the head, or something's going wrong, and what do you say? God, can you please stop, make my son be better? He's in trouble all the time. Or can I do this, can I do that? I learned a long time ago that instead of asking him for the help all the time, all I say, and I say it 15 times a day, thank you, Jesus. Thank you for everything. Thank you for helping me. I love you more than anything in the world. Thank you for being by my side. I never ask for his help. I just thank him. And it looks like things work out. And then, of course, number two is our family. We can't do anything. I mean, we might think that family is one, but it doesn't work without the guy up there. So family is number two. We gotta try to keep our family together. We gotta try to keep people happy. It's a difficult thing, but never give up, never stop trying. Do it, do it, do it, and keep doing it. Never turn your back on it. And then of course we have our friends. How great is that to have friends? You know, some of us get mad at our friends, and I always say, anger, madness, carries, goes on, it's like a sack of potatoes, okay? You get an empty sack on your back, and you walk with it. You get mad, you get angry, you yell at a guy in a car, a potato goes in the sack. You go home, you're yelling at your wife, another potato goes in the sack. By the end of the week, your sack is full, and what are you doing? You're down here. You got a load on your back. Get rid of the sack and get rid of the potatoes. Try to be positive. Try not to get angry. Try not to carry anger. And it's all based on the guy upstairs. That's my little thing. I have to say that no matter where I go. But once again, this woman here is amazing. She never stops thanking you. She never stops hugging you. She's terrific. And the people that I worked with, once again, Tony Perez and the mayor did such a great job. And I've been all through Patterson. I've done so many jobs in Patterson. This is my 45th year in business. And I've done so much in Patterson, from one end of it to the other. And whenever I can do something, I do it. I don't even ask, I just go ahead and I do it. Because it's such a great city, and I can remember it from being a little kid walking around, and there's so many great ideas and thoughts about what went on when I was younger. And I just hope that it can come back together again each day. And I just hope our society can all get together too, and like I said, accept people for who they are, not what you want them to be. Thank you.
I could never do it by myself. Dr. Stephen Rose, our trustee. Our McGraw, our other trustee, Eric Lenander. He is a co-founder, secretary, and a descendant of Huntoon. He is a great grandson. And of course, Eric Van Rensalier. I almost made it. Okay. Rod Van Rensalier, my relative and the great-great-grandson of William Van Rensalier and our vice president. And me, little old me, I founded the foundation, and I am your president. And that is a privilege to be serving all of you. Dr. Rowe.
Yes? Okay, I will close now. I do want to correct the record on one thing that was said tonight. I have seen Tony Perez unhappy. Tony, is that correct? Tony, do you vouch for that? I have seen you unhappy? Yeah, it is true.
All of the work that Tony Perez has done for so many years, this second annual Underground Railroad Awards dinner, I wanted him to sit down and relax.
Absolutely. You know, this is, for those of you who haven't been as involved with this as some of us have, I think you kind of get to see the passion that so many people have for this. This is important. This is Patterson. This is, Patterson is a special place. We are a bit dysfunctional at times. There's no question of that. But we are special. And the stories you have heard tonight are true. It's quite a history that has led up to what the pictures you have seen up here tonight. You know, at the college, you know, as you heard the mayor say, you know, we have worked hard to create a collection. I think we have bought every single book, every single thing we could find on the Underground Railroad we had at the college. Because we wanted to create an academic library that has all of those things. Because it's about education. You know, there's stories to be told here. When you know, you've heard it mentioned tonight, you know, any of us who pay attention to the media, pay attention to what's going on in the country today, I mean, when you hear the stories of what went on, you know, and boy, there's so many lessons we can learn, and we've got to tell these stories. And that's what this is about. That's why when we were talking as a board, you know, do we have these dinners? You know, why are we having these dinners? Because every year we want to keep this in people's consciousness, because there are very important stories to be told here, and every year we want to just keep reminding people of how important this is, and a lot of lessons to be learned. So, Dee, thank you for everything you keep doing for us. I can't wait to read. I cannot wait to read the new book, and thank all of you for supporting this and being a part of this. And we're going to keep doing this as long as we have to. Thanks, everybody.